Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, for another edition of Dan and Tim Explore the MCU. And we don't have an actual title for this, so it changes every week, and I kind of enjoy that for us.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tim.
Thanks. Glad to be on, as usual.
I've got to say, I'm going into this review much happier and more excited than I have been for any of our other pairings.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like we hit our peak last week and we're back on the slow decline.
I think the journey ahead might be there, but this chunk right here, me personally, since I enjoy the hell out of all three movies, I'm excited. And for once, you're not going to get the negative Dan. You're going to get a happy Dan. Not happy enough to dance, but happy Dan. So,
well, if anything, I feel like we plateaued before the decline. Then
it could very well be. We got to start with Spiderman Homecoming.
Okay.
And
let's get your take first.
Oh, you're gonna put me on the hot spot.
Yeah, always.
I absolutely freaking love Michael Keaton as Vulture. I've for years wondered how they were going to bring that to the screen in a way that worked. And they did it through the actor, not through the CGI, the fancy costumes. Yes, we had it. Yes, we saw it. But it was much more actor driven than anything else. And I absolutely love it. He was perfect for that.
Yeah.
Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. God.
Oh, hilarious.
Great casting. I mean, she's spot on. Her delivery is incredible. Her sincerity is there. Her and Tony going back and forth. You know, there's so much to love about it.
They definitely took a risk. They definitely took a risk on altering people's perceptions of these side characters, and in some places it paid off, like with Aunt May, and other people, I think it kind of missed its shot.
Yeah. What do you think it missed a shot with?
Specifically Flash. I kind of like more of the bully that Joe. I apologize if I get his name wrong. Manganiello.
Yeah, Manganiello.
Portrayed in Raimi's Spider-Man. Yeah, just a bully, because at the end of the day, whether they go that route or not, probably not, because it's a little bit of a niche storyline. All I see is Agent Venom, and I don't see this kid becoming Agent Venom, whether that's their intention or not. And just even by the end of Far From Home, having him become more of a sympathetic character with the way he's greeted when he gets home. I don't know. I just like him more of a bully.
Yeah, you know, I kind of had that thought, and then I wonder if they took the more PC approach towards having like a nice bully, I guess you could say, because he is a dick, but he's more of like that entitled, spoiled teenager as opposed to, you know, bully with some implications there. So I definitely get that. I like that it was fun. You know, that there wasn't a serious tone to it. Tom Holland played it perfectly. I know there's the debate, like, who's the best Spider-Man, and to me, he has played the role perfectly. I haven't liked the writing for him as much as I've liked some other Spider-Man iterations.
I have to agree.
I do like that we didn't have to really go through the backstory. We went through the backstory with the humor with Ned. That's
same with Vulture. That time jump was the best thing they could have done for that character.
And how about just that opening? I mean, it moves really quick, but you get the picture right away. I think that the writing was very smart. I think that the planning of this was very smart, because when you bring Spider-Man to the screen at this point, everybody's kind of just, all right, we've freaking seen it. Uncle Ben's gone, like all the shit. They did it perfectly. They really, really did. And they cast somebody who's an excitable kid. You know, you know, there's parts in the movie where I feel like Tom Holland was genuinely excited to be doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
And, you know,
also, shout out to Jennifer Connelly being the voice of Karen, the suit.
Yes.
I don't know if you realized who that was.
I did not know it was Jennifer Connelly, but now that you mentioned that,
that was a nice little cameo.
What's your favorite superhero?
Yeah. Hi, Zoe.
Oh, you're a Spider-Gwen? Okay. All right. So I think this movie was a lot of fun. I've also expressed earlier how much of a fan of Happy Hogan I am. And I think John Favreau is just excellent.
Oh, yeah.
And I do, in watching it, I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it a lot. I do think it relied a bit too much on the humor in the movie and a lot less on the story. But I think that the role players in this really carried the movie too. It wasn't necessarily about Tom Holland or Michael Keaton. It was about all
Yeah.
the background noise and everything else. And you had like an adventure within an adventure. You have all the stuff that's going on with Peter, but then his little journey with Ned, and then the love story, which actually was just enough love story for me, not too much. That scene on the ride to the dance, holy shit! Just in the car there, that was
Yes.
incredible. That's one of my favorite MCU moments. So I don't have a lot to knock on it. Actually, I forgot about the music in it. I forgot like the Ramones are in it and stuff like that. So it's even the musical notes.
Mhm.
I
Oh yeah.
big fan of that. That I totally forgot that I enjoyed that movie. This is one of the few movies I've only seen a
Yeah.
couple times, and so the rewatch was a lot of fun for me, especially after having such serious movies. And what do we leave off on? Was it Guardians? Is that what we left off on? Yeah, Guardians 2
Those
last
two.
week, which is much more emotionally stirring movie.
Yeah.
And this was just a fun way to kick off our three-parter this week for me. I don't really have many critiques. Even the end credit scene, I'm not a big fan of those, but I thought the end credit scene was perfect. It got me really excited. Uh, just the way that they brought Vulture to life to me is enough for me to love the movie. And I know we have a question we're going to get to that some folks answered as what the best villain is. And I asked that because I think that we got two of our best villains in these films. Like I think that they've had so far. So I gave this movie a 9, and I genuinely
Wow.
I love the writing. I do love the CGI that's in it. I love how they normalize Peter. We really have not seen a normal Peter in any of these movies, as much as they may have tried. We still got more of an
Yeah.
emo route, and this wasn't an emo route. This was a fun route. This was a kid who he's got this thing he's trying to figure out. He's trying to work out and trying to keep it secret, but at the age, it's realistic that he can't. And I just there's so much to love for it, and the one-on-one interactions that take place for each character throughout the movie. It's so great. Zendaya annoys me at first in the movie, and then MJ grows on me as we move forward, and that was obviously intentional. She's great. It was one of those few where I didn't have to think at all. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I took it all in, and I appreciate what they gave us with this. So I've got to go 9, but based on your feedback here, I think you may have gone a different direction.
Yeah. Being a huge Spidey fan, I was really super excited for this movie to come out, and I loved it the first time around because it was something completely new and fresh compared to the I don't want to say hot garbage that was Amazing Spider-Man 2, but because I do like some of the directions that he took, especially with the clock tower scene. Anyways, yeah, so I was excited, super excited for Vulture. I'm really a fan of when they bring villains who haven't been done before
Hmm.
to the screen, and so far they're 2 for 2. I'm was I'm incredibly happy with Vulture. But with that being said, I do have some thoughts, some critiques. He didn't really do much when he was in the air. Um, there was there was the part towards the end when he was getting ready to hijack the plane, where he was seen like just perching on like the side of like a billboard.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know except any of the other times that I watched the movie, and I thought that was awesome. Like his wings were like huddled around him, and he just when he's in the air, he just doesn't do a lot with the suit, and that was a little disappointing because when you see him uh, fight Peter, because you don't really have a fight until the
Yeah.
climax, he just swoops back and forth, and that's about the extent. Um, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do in the air, but yeah, most of what I'm going to talk about are just like minor nitpicks. Shout out to Donald Glover and the Miles Easter egg. I really enjoyed that.
I got
And
so excited with that.
yeah, like I said, I like the approach that they took with the different characters. I liked Aunt May. Flash was kind of a miss. And it took me a little while to get used to Ned because I always went through my love of Spider-Man not thinking he had that guy in the chair. And so it was different. Um, it was different for me, and I really ended up enjoying it, especially after that play of the game, that PogChamp line where I'm looking at porn.
Oh yeah.
Just ultimate bro, the ultimate, yeah. Um, but I feel like the movie was a little too long. Um, around the time of them um, tracking his lackeys to Maryland, and then the Washington scene that dragged for me a little bit, and I put these on while I work, and I just can't focus on work for that for that span. I didn't really look down much, but yeah, overall it was a decent movie. Not as great as I remember. That's gonna be a theme tonight. It's not as good as I remember.
You know,
Um,
you mentioned
but I am going to.
the Donald Glover appearance and kind of the Easter
Yes,
egg from Miles, and I'm wondering if like a lot of these characters we got, it was just Marvel trying to be
yeah,
smart because the Spider-Man contract wasn't, nothing was done. It was up in the air with in terms of their deal with Sony. So it's like they laid this out just in case.
right,
And I think that's really genius for foresight, just like because nobody knew what was going to happen. For a while, it seemed like Sony wasn't going to give it up,
yeah,
so they put it out there, even
yeah,
knowing that the Miles verse was being
yeah,
animated, and it's just so cool that they did that just in case they got the opportunity to bring this stuff to the screen.
yeah, yeah. Planting the seeds for those branching arcs was, yeah, it was a really good idea. And just the overall love of Spider-Man. Ah, the director's name escapes me, but you can tell he loves the source material, and that's the one thing that I'm very thankful for when it comes to these movies. But as for my score, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5. Not as good as I remember, but still a decent movie.
Wow, I expected it to be a little bit higher than that at
Yeah,
least.
I
Very,
know.
very little love for
It was
Spider-Man.
chock full of surprises.
You put that on par with Civil War. Interesting. And Iron Man, the first Iron Man. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think I'm being gratuitous. I was thinking about going a little bit lower, but
Interesting.
I think I have to give that extra half star just for Martin Starr playing the teacher. I love Martin Starr, and he was great in that role.
He's somebody whenever I see that he's in a role, because Freaks and Geeks is
So what we got next?
Freaks and Geeks is my all-time favorite show. So whenever I see Martin Starr in anything,
Yeah,
I get just a big smile on my face. Uh,
yeah.
on deck,
That and the Adventureland too. I
oh
love.
God, yeah,
Yeah,
so great. But he's also fun in this because he didn't take any of it too seriously. He was spot on with being a teacher on a trip. Like, just it was just great. Now,
yeah. I feel like in Far From Home, JB Smoove kind of like took it a little too far with the whole witches thing,
yeah,
but it was nice to have him like solo this time around, and he was great.
I completely agree, and that's actually going to be one of the things I was going to talk about when we get to Far From Home. Uh, I mentioned that we were going to talk best villain today, and before getting
Okay,
into Thor Ragnarok, I wanted to share some takes we got from some folks who participated in this. So I think you saw some of the comments
sure.
as well,
Let's
and
do it.
we had some good ones and some people who thought
I
along.
saw a few. Yeah.
Yeah, so Corey Kesterline and Ali Abdul Adil went with Killmonger or Vulture. They both said them. And Corey said the best villains are ones you can empathize with. If you can't empathize with both of them, check yourself.
Yes.
So I think he's spot on. He really is. And
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about Killmonger tonight as well. But I think that the two of them may be the best villains that we've had in the MCU thus far.
Mhm.
Sherry Nutter Timothy said her favorite isn't a true villain in her eyes, but she loves Loki. And Jeanette also got in on the Loki love there with her, and was all about that.
Naturally.
Jeanette actually said the best villain was Thanos. He's powerful, menacing, and he has a purpose that's not entirely malevolent at its core. He's cruel in the eyes of others, but in his own eyes, he's merciful. I could go on and on. I think that description is amazing. She said the
Yeah.
best villain is Thanos, but the villain that will always have her heart is Loki, which those of us who know Jeanette, we know that. But banger description for Thanos. I mean, it's spot on. So well done, Jeanette.
Because if you think about it, Thanos in Infinity War, he's not out to fight people. He's just fighting everyone who gets in his way.
Yeah.
And it's just so impactful how true to his convictions he is, and that's why I love him so much.
He's just a little bit misunderstood.
Yeah.
Joseph Dilcox gave us Killmonger as well. And Brian McBride said Thanos has always been really high ranking in the Marvel comic history. And he went with him for the MCU, but he said Dormammu would be a pretty strong contender too. Then when I pointed out that I roasted him on Doctor Strange, he said, oh yeah, the movie version's awful, but seeing it in comic form would be much different. So he's absolutely right. And that's pretty much what you and I both said about Dormammu too, is they on that. But it's interesting. We had a theme. We had Thanos, Loki, Killmonger, and some Vulture. And I think all those are pretty spot on. The one that was left out that I'm going to talk about that I think was done absolutely perfectly was actually in our next movie, Thor Ragnarok. It's the Grandmaster. Also one of my favorite pops. Gifted to me by some awesome people.
See, I can't even think of him as a villain because it doesn't matter what way you spin it. It's just Jeff Goldblum being on set, just being himself.
And that's why it's epic.
Yeah, for sure.
I have exactly 3 Jeff Goldblum portraits hanging in my house, one of which is him as the Grandmaster. And yes, so big fan. I think he played the hell out of that character. It's a character not a lot of people know about from the comic books, but Jesus, if they read about it, they'll see that role was meant for him. It was written very well. He played it perfectly. When they hit the buttons in the ship and it's his dance party, oh my God, I freaking love that so much.
It's my birthday.
Yes, yeah, perfect to me. So it's interesting. We actually have my 3 favorite villains from the MCU tonight in all 3 of these films, being Vulture, the Grandmaster, and Killmonger. So that's what prompted the question for me. But when you get into Ragnarok, I had a lot more fun the first 3 times I watched it than when I watched it this time around. It actually drags quite a bit for me. Though I remembered a lot of fun moments from it, it wasn't nearly as fun as I remember. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie is just perfect.
Oh yeah.
I think the casting in this movie as a whole is just amazing. I actually prefer Mark Ruffalo as Hulk instead of Bruce Banner, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And so there is
this time around. Yeah. Now that you got Hulk actually like articulating and showing some level of intelligence, because the whole mindless beast thing gets old pretty quick. And,
it does.
They made the right decision to go that route with him in this movie.
Absolutely. And I think that he's perfect for Hulk. I just don't want to see him acting kind of thing. It was a bit overdone for me. I think that the humor with Chris Hemsworth in this film is finally what we needed from Thor, finally what we needed from this actor who we knew he was capable of it. It finally wasn't a dark Thor movie when you really think about it. The CGI was incredible. The music was perfect. It was a bit cheeky and campy, but that's Taika, and that's one of the reasons why I love Taika. Korg coming out as one of my top 10 MCU characters from this film. I mean, just holy shit. The film start to finish is fun. It's just, it could probably be about 20 minutes shorter, I think. There's a bit that drags from me.
I can see that.
I thoroughly enjoy it though, and I think that the character development was really strong, and they finally got Thor right after 2 misses and some Avengers action. So I think that it set up what's going to become, of a nomad. The Asgardians being nomads, and there's so many comic book implications with that, and so much they can do even beyond Thor. So when Chris Hemsworth is done with all this, there's so much they can do still, and I liked it. for a while I thought that it was in my top three, and I don't think it quite is. I give it an 8, because I do enjoy it. There's a lot that I take away from it, but when I finished, I wasn't like with my jaw dropped like I was the first few times I watched it.
Yeah.
I remember at one point when I got it on Blu-ray, I watched it twice in a row. Like that was the effect it had on me. And I don't know if I've just seen it too many times close together, or if really it's just not as impactful as I once thought it was, as we found with many.
I'd say that's a factor.
But I sure do love the hell out of it. And I think when I revisit it in 5 years and we do this again, I'm gonna possibly have a different take on it. So I got an 8 in my book.
Okay.
But I love the character development. I love the introduction to Valkyrie. I couldn't think of a better person to play that. I wish Taika could direct every movie that James Gunn isn't directing, and just holy shit. Oh well, Ryan Coogler too, but holy shit, this is just an epically fun 8.5. 8.5. It's an epically fun movie.
Yeah.
8.5 because my guy Jeff Goldblum, but I had to look at my other scores for other movies as well, and in terms of what they laid out groundwork wise and the implications of all of that, and just the juggling and the story and the writing. So I'm gonna go 8.5. Probably a bit lower of a representation as a number than how much I enjoy it, but I think that's fair based on our scale thus far.
Yeah. I was I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about the movie. It's like you said, it was definitely the route they needed to go. And they could have taken it in a better direction. It needed that pop of color. And just that sense of contrast to everything around it, because you got the bright neon colors of Sakaar, and it definitely lends itself to differentiate itself from like the mute colors of Midgard and Earth and all that. You've heard me bring this up quite a few times. Some of the points that I don't care for about the movie is how they.
He's listening.
That's weird. That's weird. That's so weird. I didn't like how they handled the Warriors 3. It was incredibly cheap, and I felt kind of robbed with at least 2 of them going out so easily.
Yeah.
All 3 of them could have been easily involved in that battle. But it's like that gif of that guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, Larry David.
Larry something or other. I can't remember his name. Yeah, Larry David. Also, I give major props to Kate Blanchett as Hela. She was very stiff in her delivery of certain lines, but overall, I think she nailed it. That was what Hela needed to be, and I'm glad they didn't sacrifice anything with her, because for the longest time I was wondering why they changed Proxima Midnight in Infinity War so drastically, and I think it was because they didn't want to confuse her with Hela with the same similar black headdresses.
I thought that CGI
yes,
Hela was
Sakaar
really well
was.
done.
Oh, with her transitioning into battle Hela. Yeah. Scourge was phenomenal. I love me some Carl Urban. Even more so with the boys, and seeing him in new comic series like Beta Ray Bill. He's the new Beta Ray Bill series. Just makes me appreciate Scourge more. And it was good that he was one and done in that movie too. I couldn't see a movie forward past that.
I think that would have been a bit overkill for that character if he continued other films.
Yeah, and just overall, just going back into how gorgeous the movie is. You got the shots of not only the gladiator scene and every time Thor has that damn lightning around him is just breathtaking because they slow it down, they get the immigrant song going, and you just it pumps you up. It really does. Um, and going on those same lines, that shot of Valkyrie walking away from the Grandmaster ship with the fireworks on the uh, on the bridge there, it was just gorgeous. But yeah, Korg didn't really work for me. Well, not it didn't work for me. He just wasn't as funny as I remember, except for that one joke where he talks about the hammer pulling him off. Oh my god, the hammer pulls you off.
I think when it comes to Korg, it's more of
Yeah,
the accent than it is the lines for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Because the piss off ghost still gets me too
Yes.
every time. But overall, yeah, I love what they did with the costume design too. I thought Heimdall looked amazingly badass, and it was good to get away from that. In the same fashion as like Harry Potter transitioning from like, this is kind of a weird comparison, but in the first and second movies where it was just all robes, and then you move to like the third movies on and they're in just casual clothes the whole time. Same thing with Thor. Like they stick to like the armor and stuff for the first two movies, and then here they're in cultural like variants of the costumes. You got Bruce and those in Tony's skin tight, jeans, switching up his look from just like a frumpy professor and all that. But yeah, it's overall it's just yeah, it was good. But I think like you were mentioning before, just our overexposure to it from watching it so much just kind of like muted it down this time around. So before I get rambling again and start talking utter nonsense, I'm going to go ahead and give this an 8. I'm comfortable giving it an 8, no higher, no lower.
Interesting.
Yeah.
On Tuesday when I watched it, or no, Sunday when I watched it, I put a calendar note in my Google Calendar for 5 years from then to watch it to see how I feel about it. Just wondering if I've seen it too many times in the recent years to fully appreciate it. So maybe I'll watch it with you.
Also, yeah, I'd be down for it.
Awesome.
Also, two little tidbits of fun facts if you didn't know. If you're looking at the tower in Sakaar that Hulk was staying in, you'll notice that one of the heads cards on as the champions is actually Beta Ray Bill.
Yep.
On the left hand side, and then there is a gladiator that has 3 heads who actually died in the battle on the bridge. 2 of those heads are CGI'd by Taika and also by Chris Hemsworth.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
So I thought that was I thought that was pretty awesome.
The really Beta Ray thing
on Thor.
The Beta Ray face really started a lot of speculation after that movie that I think kind of clouded the movie itself, because it's like, oh, we're getting Beta Ray. Like that was all the talk
really?
After. Yeah, that's everybody's all about the Easter eggs and that we got this covered, guys, and everything else. It's Beta Ray is on the way.
Yeah.
No, I mean naturally at some point, yes, but it's not the theme of the next movie. So, but that was a nice nod. I think it again. Taika really knows these characters very well. He did.
Yeah.
And that's a nice homage. Now, I think we spoke earlier.
I'm sorry. Quickly before we go to Black Panther, I loved the one thing I did love is that Doctor Strange scene. He was in it for maybe 5 minutes total, but they nailed him from the comic accurate suit to his introduction when Thor first got there. It again with the chills. this MCU is all about the chills. And yeah, I really, really, really love that scene.
And I've got to say that was one of the few times I actually enjoyed Doctor Strange in these films. I did really enjoy that scene. That was pretty excellent. It was a great exchange between these
I'm sorry.
characters. So
I'm sorry. What?
yeah, I enjoyed that scene with Stephen Strange there. Um, Hopefully there are more that I come to enjoy in the future, but we shall see. So we are now venturing.
Okay. All right.
I mean, Tim, we talked earlier, and I said that our friendship was ending tonight, for one reason or another. So it could be Doctor Strange, it could be about Black Panther, but I've been emotionally preparing for it all day. So um, as we
Just stop keeping me in suspense. Just end it already.
so as we move to Black Panther,
Stop pulling my hurdle.
you see, I've got my hat. Got to rock the hat. I have my favorite villain next to me,
You gotta.
Mr. Killmonger. And I have my favorite comic book
Now I look
character.
foolish. I'm so unprepared.
And now I have my favorite comic book character of all time that I waited so long to get a movie of. And Civil War just was not good enough for me. And holy shit, when this movie was announced, and I found out that Ryan Coogler, of all people, was attached to, directed Fruitvale Station, which is just hands down one of the best movies I've ever seen. I was absolutely freaking pumped. And then I found out he was working with Michael B. Jordan again after Creed. Just the casting alone got me. And then Chadwick Boseman, it just, everything worked for me before it even came out. And I was one of those fanboys before I ever saw it on the screen that said this is the best Marvel movie ever, simply because I had been waiting forever, and anybody who knows me knew that. With that being said, I think that the nod to Wakanda was really awesome in it. There's, the whole MCU path pretty much goes through Wakanda, all the vibranium, all the weapons.
Yeah.
It all links back to Wakanda. So in a lot of ways, this movie was the origin story for a lot of Marvel. We wouldn't have an Iron Man without the Wakanda, so it's awesome. Martin Freeman being cast in this movie, it was such a genius choice. His delivery is great.
Fantastic.
The writing was so good. It was so fun. It's interesting. I don't know if you saw a post I had earlier of my graded book of the week, but it was actually Fantastic Four 53, which is the first appearance of Ulysses Claw. And it's the first time him and Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
And it's such an iconic comic for me. I absolutely love that comic book, and it's one of the ones that really got me into the Black Panther. So seeing them fight in that book and then seeing it on the screen, played by such a fantastic actor there too. Jesus, it's so well done there. It's interesting when you look at the lore that they combined, because you have the classic Black Panther and then the more modern Black Panther. Like Shuri wasn't in existence until more recently. And then the same with the Dora. They weren't really a thing until more recently either. So the building on the strong women characters, as well as the old guard, was just so good. I give a lot of props to the MCU for not introducing M'Baku in the way that he was in the comics as Man-Ape, because times have changed and that's really not a solid representation of anything. So they artfully did it without him losing his essence, and they did it very well. And so I appreciate that about it, the attention to that. Special effects were great. The CGI was great. The fight at the falls is one of my favorite. My one downfall, and it's not on them, when I found out the soundtrack, Kendrick Lamar and everything he assembled for that, I was waiting for it all movie the first time I saw it, because I'm like, where the hell are these songs? Because I'd been listening to the soundtrack like crazy. And it turns out it was just an album that Kendrick put out for the movie. We got All the Stars with SZA at the end. That was okay. But Jesus, I love this movie so much. I know it's got its detractors. I know that it had, people who wanted more, or it didn't feel Marvel enough. But the CGI, with invisible cars, everything the balls did, getting to Wakanda, just all of that was so great. I will say, and I don't know what parts I would cut out. It could be shorter. But it could be shorter, but at the same time, I wouldn't cut any of the speeches. Like Killmonger's speech was so great. The high ante, I love that. I gush over this movie when I talk about it, because it actually gets better for me every single time I watch it, because I find more that I enjoy. And I've read all the books that it references, and it's really a solid nod to this character from his introduction to the Ta-Nehisi Coates run. So it's so cool to see on the big screen. They got it right. I think I do a little bit less of the astral plane scenes. The movie was already being carried well enough on itself where we didn't necessarily need that, but
Really?
yeah. And I say that
Those were
after
one of my,
watching.
those were some of my favorite parts.
They're cool. I could do without them. I think, you know, not all of
Yeah.
them. Obviously, like the first one's important, but we get the gist of it after that. Um, I think the fight scenes were really, really well done and well choreographed. The acting was spot on. Um, I don't really have, you know, I tried to find takeaways from it because I don't want to say it's a perfect movie just because it's my favorite MCU movie. Um, but really, the more I watch it, the
Right.
stronger I find the writing, the stronger I find the camera work, the stronger I find the fight scenes. The chemistry between these characters is absolutely phenomenal, which is why not only was Chadwick such a great guy, but this cast was not only distraught after his death, but distraught at the thought of making another film without him because of just how tight they all were with each other. Um, I just, it's absolutely brilliant. And I, even the Forrest Whitaker in it, you know, just he played his role perfect. So I gotta go.
Yeah.
I give it a 9.5 because I know it's not a perfect movie. Um, it is my favorite of the Marvel universe, which is why I thoroughly enjoyed this trifecta of movies so much. Um, I don't know what I would change to make it a 10. Maybe just the knowledge that it's not a perfect movie, kind of like we have a 9.8 for CGC for reading comic books because it's not going to be a 10. So um, I give it
Yeah.
that, but in my heart, it's an 11. And I'm curious on your thoughts because I know you don't appreciate it as much as I do. I know it's not as enjoyable for you, and you've got your critiques. And so I'm curious about your thoughts on this fantastic film that you're about to be wrong about.
So I will, like I mentioned to you earlier, I will fully admit that the movie has gotten better for me since the last couple times I've watched it. Um, the problems are the same, but overall, I even even as I was watching this while I was working, I still um, found that the movie was just better. So just to start out, I'll get the negatives out of the way. All my negatives have to do with Killmonger. Um, I don't want to sit here and say that Michael B. Jordan wasn't right for the role because he was, and he did an amazing job with it. Um, I just feel like his lines, and I put this all on Ryan Coogler as it should be on the director for the most part. Um, his lines were delivered in a very cheesy way. I saw the importance and I saw the weight behind what he was saying. I just couldn't get past how he was saying it physically, and it just um, I know he was just a kid from Oakland essentially, but just something about the way he delivered his lines I couldn't I couldn't take him seriously as a villain. Uh, he just didn't come off as I don't want to say intimidating, but impactful, I guess, is the best way I can describe it right now. Um,
You know what's
and
interesting?
then,
I actually, in watching
yeah,
it, I never saw him as the villain. You know, it's kind of one of those things where um, he was wronged as well, and so I totally get what you're saying.
yeah,
It's interesting to look at it from those because I like in my eyes, Claw was actually the villain of the movie, and Killmonger was
mhm.
good versus good in a lot of ways. I've gotten a lot of shit for having that opinion, but I don't think that would change much for anybody watching. But that's kind of the lens I saw it through.
Yeah. Um, I don't think we got enough of Claude, to be honest.
Yeah.
If he was just in the movie just a little bit more, it would have been better, and especially if he didn't get killed. Um, even with uh, even taking away Chadwick Boseman's untimely death, I I just wish I could see more of Andy Serkis because he's just such a talented guy, and um, he played that part so well. And I think he got robbed of screen time between this and Age of Ultron. Uh, but that's essentially where my critiques end for the most part. The one thing I want to touch on is the interesting point that people made about Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa is that how he gets overshadowed by all of the side characters, um, because he just comes off as a very um, uninteresting character compared to like Nakia, Shuri. I don't think that's the case at all. If anything, he's just complimented by them. Uh, he's uh, from my perspective, he's meant to have this cool, collected, you know, composure. Uh, if you'll pardon the alliteration, um, you know, because he's trying to keep in mind that he has to be, you know, a warrior and a king, and both of those come with a level of discipline that you need.
He's our first character with a
Um,
PhD in
and he's
humility.
just yeah, yeah, and he's just trying to do right by Nakia, his family, and his country, and that's very apparent um, because of Boseman's just unmatched performance. Um, yeah, uh, like everyone's saying, he is T'Challa. I I don't want to see anyone else. There is no one else. And just everyone was, oh my god, everyone was just everyone else was just so fantastic from Lupita to Martin Freeman. His range of emotions in his face,
Mhm.
like I mentioned to you earlier, his face when he saw uh, T'Challa in the casino at in Korea was just priceless. I probably rewound that at least 3 times just to watch his reaction. And oh, I do have one more critique that I did mention to you earlier, and that is the lack of environmental variety. They're in Africa for crying out loud, and I just wish they could have had. There's just a missed opportunity for all this different mix up in the choreography of fight scenes and others, but they just stuck to like a savannah for most of the climax, and yeah, that part was a little disappointing, but the 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 heart was there, and that's all that matters. Um, yeah, I love the astral plane scene. Um, seeing all the panthers up in the tree with the aurora behind them. It's just so gorgeous, and it was nice that we got both of them, so we can see the parallels in their upbringing and their ideologies, and just cementing home how different T'Challa is from T'Chaka,
Yeah.
and that was just phenomenal. Um, Also, I gotta start coming in here with uh, being prepared with all these actors' names. Um, the gentleman who played in Get Out, who played his friend there, who was Okoye's lover. He was just phenomenal.
Are you talking about Daniel Kaluuya?
Yes, yes, thank you. It was hilarious to see him get thrown as the leader of the border tribe, get thrown around um, by T'Challa, and just he was just all over the screen during this climax. It was just that was hilarious. But yeah, he was a standout character to me, and I really enjoyed that, especially when it came to his own struggles between Okoye and his country.
Yeah.
Um, and even Angela Bassett, who didn't have that much of a character, everyone was just phenomenal. I think that's the main point I'm trying to make. Um, so overall, a lot better than I expected or than I remembered. And I will. I didn't think that I would ever revisit this movie, but I think yeah, this will be a movie that I just throw on casually. Um, I can't, in all honesty, fully grasp the weight of the social commentary behind it, but I totally respect what they were trying to what they were doing with it. I'm not gonna say trying because they succeeded in it. And yeah, I'll definitely be revisiting this in the future. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Black Panther an 8 as well.
So that was your middle of the road score tonight,
Yeah,
between the three. And
yeah, pretty consistent.
yeah, oh, that's definitely pretty solid right there.
Yeah,
I Yeah, I often wonder if I enjoyed it so much because I am a fanboy and because it addresses a lot of matters that are just near to my heart, or if it really truly is just that great of a movie. And it's probably the former, but I just love it to death. I can't even count how
yeah,
many times I've seen it. But I will say this was a awesome ride, and for those who continue to watch this each week, we are about to do things a little differently, just to give you a heads up. And Tim had this idea, and I think that it's actually a solid idea for how we wrap things up.
mhm,
Next week, we'll be doing Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man Far From Home, which will leave us with Infinity War and Endgame. And we'll do those two as a segment, our final segment there,
mhm,
prior to getting to Black Widow. I think that's a smart approach to it, since those two
yeah,
movies really should be addressed together, despite having movies that came out between them, because those movies really don't necessarily have a whole lot to do with them in the grand scheme of
mhm.
things. And it makes sense. And Tim had that good idea, and we're going to follow through with that. Uh, I can't believe we're coming to an end with it, to be honest, but
I know.
it's been a fun journey.
Feels like we just started.
I know, and it's been exciting. I've been loving watching many of these again.
Yeah,
Any excuse I have to rewatch Black Panther and Thor Ragnarok, I'll take. So next week, yes, we're going out of order, but it's going to be a good time. And I have
yeah.
no idea what question. Tim, I might need you to come up with a question for us for next week at some
Okay,
point this week.
sure.
And thank you for joining us, those who do every week. It's been a
Yeah.
blast. This has been a passion project Tim and I have been talking about for a while. So I love the
Yep.
continued support. Keep commenting, keep liking, subscribe so you don't miss
Yeah.
our last two episodes before we get into other content. And
Because at the end of the day, it's not just our show. It's our show,
yeah,
and that's really what it's all about. Is that it's that sense of community, and we want to hear from our community.
well said, my friend. Well said.
Thank you, sir.
And with that, Tim and I look forward to seeing you next week, and we look forward to the banter between now and then. So if you disagree with any of these takes, Gary Baker, this one's for you. If you disagree with any
Yes,
of these
sir.
takes, make sure to comment. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us we're on base. And that's why we're here. So Tim,
Yeah.
thank you again, my friend. I'm so
Give
happy
me
to be doing
give me
this.
yeah. Thank you. Give me a fresh perspective on Black Panther that I might be missing, because I really want to enjoy this more, and so I look forward to hearing from you guys.
And I want that for Tim so that we can continue our friendship. Tim, until we meet
It's
again.
rocky at best right now. Yes, sir.
Much love.